Alrighty, it's a Saturday evening here in southern Ontario, man. I got like 5 or 6 days to go when I gotta go to this big wedding thing. It's personal stuff. None of that will be filmed, I think. My daughter's getting married, man. I'm gonna have to stand up and probably do a speech and stuff, but I think I can wing it as good as I wing it on, our YouTube videos. This is the way we like it, man. We love it, just kind of winging it, or at least I do. I know the camera girl would like to get in front of the camera. She has so much information and so much ability, and she needs to have a whole lot of credit for the stuff that she does mechanically, electrically. She does stuff that I don't do, and she needs to get in front of the camera and kind of show you guys some of that stuff. But yeah, she's a little bit camera shy. I have videotaped her in the past when she didn't know I was videotaping. But as you can see, we've got Steven's Coupe. I got the boat painted up in the last few days, and I'm telling you, man, painting up this stuff, it's so time consuming, because there's nothing worse than watching paint dry. There is nothing worse. It's because you want to move on. You want to move on, and I could not do so. The boat, yeah, I got it sitting on my jet boat trailer. I might make another trailer for the V-Hull jet boat. Obviously, I gotta discuss something. So the ESC that I had bought, it's sitting right here. I think I discussed this in the last video. It's sitting right here. I took it all apart. Yeah, it's more garbage, from across the pond, way across the pond. I always point that way. I don't know why I point that way, because it's usually shipped from that direction. Comes to the west coast and then comes across land to me. But I thought that was now some of this stuff is not finished. Obviously, the pilot, I'm gonna sand them out a bit, and I'm gonna paint them and detail them. Same as the windshield. It's kind of rough. I just kind of sprayed this stuff like in a flat black. Where the blower unit's sitting and the pilot's sitting, I'm probably not going to do too much with, call it a canopy or a filler, or I don't know what you want to call it. Like here's how fresh this paint is. This, you could hear it. It's still a little bit sticky, but this is a little rough. It was just rough fiberglass. So I'll finish it up, and I'll make this piece, the windshield piece, a little bit smoother, and then I'll airbrush it. And as far as this piece down inside here that lifts out, I'll probably just leave it like that. Maybe put a satin clear on it. Get the dude glued in there. Get the the blower unit glued in there. I might try and 3D print some pipes, kind of to stick out the sides. I'm thinking maybe sticking them, out these sides here. 4 pipes here, 4 pipes there. I was kind of thinking that might look cool.
That would be cool.
Yeah, but I'm debating now that I have this all sitting here. I'm debating whether to put the flame graphics, up here. That was the idea, was to put the flame graphics up here, on the top of the boat, to, so that the car and the boat are kind of matching, but the boat looks so sweet. I'm undetermined. I have to wait for the clear coat on this surface to, you know, at least 24 hours before I make a decision. It looks good. To me it looks awesome just the way it is, but you know me, man. I like to bling things out and whatnot, and yeah, I know Steven is, you know, he's over in England. It's about a 4 or 5 hour difference. He's probably in bed for the night, so he'd probably see this video in the morning. But yeah, I still have work to do on the coupe. I still got some parts to powder coat, and the reason I haven't got there is purely the heat. You know, I have to bake the stuff in the oven over here, and it's like lately it's been hot here in southern Ontario, and I really haven't felt like firing up my oven to powder bake parts, just because of the heat has just been, you know, it's just been crazy here. We have had a few at night. It gets a little bit cool, but you know, through the day it's, you know, we have an AC unit out here in the shop that's upstairs on the 2nd story, and it keeps the temperature down here on the main floor just kind of, for me, just kind of right, you know, for working. Now when I gotta paint stuff, I gotta fire up the exhaust fan, I gotta crack, I'm gonna lift the door for airflow and stuff like that, and it's like, and it's just sucking hot air in and pulling all that cool air out, and it's like, yeah, you gotta, you know, it's like peas and carrots, you know, you gotta, I know that's a weird scenario, apples and oranges, peas and carrots, but you know, you gotta kind of work with the days that you get in front of you. And I have made it my mission, this car sitting over here, you know, this shoebox car, I've made it my mission to put a few hours on it every day, at least every weekday. You know, try and get it, it's been here a long time, and it'd be nice to get it finished up, and it'd be nice to get one of our projects. You know, our projects, our Chevy trucks, have been sitting out in the driveway for a long time. I very seldom even go out there and look at them, and you know, when I do look at them, I'm like, oh man, I'd like to be working on our Chevy trucks, at least the camera girl's truck. You know, her, you know, that's going to be our everyday kind of ride, and it would be nice to have it in here, but I can't bring it in here because, you know, all my tables, like even this table, you know, this is my crash cart here. Actually, I just throw a piece of plywood on here. My ratchet set is underneath this piece of plywood. And I have to have one bay open because we're constantly, you know, working on people's cars, brake jobs, all kinds of kind of neat, interesting jobs. We don't videotape and we don't show a whole lot of that stuff because there's so much of it on YouTube. We just don't want to bore people with, you know, that kind of crap. You know, we do have an interesting job coming up. It's on a Mercedes. It's this weird butterfly mechanism on the intake, and they're notorious for breaking, and we're just, you know, we're waiting for parts from Amazon. And then I've got Ultima front cross member underneath the car sitting outside that just arrived, and that's a bigger project because I don't have a car hoist here, and you basically got to drop the whole cross. You got to drop the exhaust, you got to drop the control arms, you got to undo the rack, you got to drop the cross member. The motor self-supports, in the vehicle, and then you put the new cross member up under there, and I have to do that all on the concrete floor. You know, put the car up on jack stands. I got my, yeah, that's the kind of stuff I do because I neglected to put a car hoist in here because it was like, you know, you got ramps or legs or stuff that fold out and posts, and it was like that stuff just gets in the way. You know, it gets in the way. Why do I do these jobs? God only knows. God only knows why I take on these type of jobs. I don't really know what to say, man. I love working. I love working. I love working on vehicles. You know, sometimes it gets monotonous, but I prefer this kind of stuff. This stuff here gives me enjoyment. What gives me even more enjoyment is taking them out and running them. And the collection is getting smaller because I'm squeezing down, and it's like I'm not a collector. I'm a builder. That's what I am. I am a builder, and I love it when I sell one of my creations to somebody and they get the enjoyment, whether it becomes just solely a shelf queen or they actually use it. That's totally up to them. That's totally up to them. Personally, myself, I don't care what they do with it. But, I think all this stuff should be used, especially, in the quarter scale world. It should be used, maybe not all the time, but it should be used. But, there you go. We took you on a little quest. We're going to keep this video kind of short on a Saturday evening, and there you have it. You get to see the hot rod coupe. Now this trailer is my trailer for my jet boat, but I might design a trailer for Steven's boat. This boat that you see sitting here, obviously it'll sit a little bit lower. I actually, believe it or not, where the axle is on here, I had to shove a couple of the batteries up into the hull to keep this, because it wanted to tip backwards. But how cool would that be if you saw that going down the road, if it were real? Big old freaking jet speedboat, and a hot rod, like, that would be freaking awesome, man. That's just something you don't ever see. You don't see anybody with a 1934 hot rod pulling a speedboat behind them. But come on, man, you know what? I see this sitting at Steven's house eventually when we ship it there, and I hope, or at least, that's kind of my vision. My vision is that this is sitting at his house, and he loves it. He can show it off. He can take the boat out and he can take it to the pond and drive it. He can take the hot rod, to a parking lot or somewhere and run it if that's what he chooses to do. If he chooses to just, put it on a big old shelf in his house and just kind of admire it every single day, you know what? That's totally his, that's totally his option, just gorgeous stuff. That's all I can say. Gorgeous, this stuff is just not readily available. Do you know what I'm saying? It's just not readily available. It's all specialty stuff, man. And that's why I love to build it, and I love to, sell it to people that want it. Or, both of these projects were, I'm trying to think of the name. They were You know, they're projects that he wanted to do, and he just wanted me to clean them up, finish them, create them. You know, they were, I guess, you know, contracted, I guess you could say. And I think this is friggin' awesome, man. This is friggin' awesome. Me, I can't keep my stuff nice because I like to take it out and run it and bash it. So it's always got, you know, scrapes and scuffs and stuff like that. But, you know, imagine this right here. You know, the hot rod, the boat to match, sitting in on a mantle or a shelf or something like that. It's like you just don't see this stuff every day, is kind of what I'm getting at. And yeah, I hope that when I get this stuff shipped all the way back to the Isle of Wight to Stephen, I know he's going to appreciate it and he's going to love it, and that's kind of the ultimate goal. Just knowing that somebody is going to be super, super pleased, you know, with kind of what I created. That's awesome. To me, that's awesome. There you have it. That's all I got to really say. I could go on and on and on. Sharp Customs. Share, like, subscribe. Thank you for all the comments. Don't forget to keep commenting. Peace. I'm out.